This is Miss Lizzie, and I want to welcome you to the Queen Lizzie podcast. Together, we will go through the history of Rosewood, Florida, and watch as the once prosperous town rises out of the bloodshed, fire, and ash to reveal the people, the memory, and the legacy of Rosewood. Watch every Thursday on Facebook and YouTube, or listen to our story on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Hello, everybody. I am Lizzie Robinson Jenkins, representing not only the Rosewood Foundation, but the personal testimonies and history of cherished friends and family. You are now watching the Queen Lizzie podcast. Today, we're talking with Kristen Stewart. Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome to, I call this the Queen Lizzie Conversation Piece, P-E-A-C-E.
There you go. I like it. I'll steal it.
Okay. You have my permission.
Okay.
And Kristen, I am so happy that you are going to be visiting with us today and telling us about your work in the community. I can't wait. Okay, I just met you a couple of weeks ago via telephone.
Telephone, right?
Yes,
right.
And now you are here live
Right.
to tell us about yourself and your plans and your mission, vision, and whatever you want to share. Okay?
Well, it's a good thing I'm a gator, that's for sure.
Okay.
But there's so many things to begin with. I did call you because of my interest in Rosewood. But, you know, the one thing, I'm in a book club, and we're looking for some unique books and some books that really tell stories that want to tell the truth, not just, you know, the textbook or Hollywood movies or the such, like more like a Ken Nash documentary, something like that. But I moved from corn country in New York State, you know, upstate New York, in '84, and I started working. I lived in Denellen. I live there now, but I moved to Crystal River for a while. But I worked in Levy County at a restaurant to pay my way through school. Mm-hmm. And so I had a lot of experiences, and I used to go back and forth to Cedar Key because we enjoyed the water, and, you know, it was all new to me, you know. But as I, you know, would drive by and I would see this Rosewood sign and there was nothing there. And I thought, well, maybe that's like one of those ghost towns, you know, kind of like Romeo and Juliet and Denellen, something, you know, like that, where, you know, there's not enough transportation or there wasn't enough water or the jobs kind of gave out, right? And I just always kind of wondered, but curious. And I would ask people, and I said, is that a ghost town? And then everyone would say, yeah, it's a ghost town. And that was all that I ever got from it. Okay. Well, anyway, I worked as a waitress and had some rather strange experiences that I was not familiar with. And there were a group of individuals that had a little bit of political power that came into the restaurant every day for lunch, and they'd sit at, it was their table, and they would laugh very hard about how they would run young black boys into the swamps, up trees with dogs, and thought that was hilarious. And of course I was horrified, you know, that was terrifying. And I just didn't want to believe that. I just thought it was, you know, boys are talking dirt to each other, whatever, but there's got to be some truth to it. And in between times, someone had said, oh yeah, the town had burned, but they didn't say how or why. And so the end of the story is I was driving home from the restaurant. I'm in an old diesel Rabbit, you know, with no air conditioning because I was still paying my way through UF. And I got pulled over, and took the last table, so I didn't get out of there till 11:30, and it was dark, and I got pulled over, and this individual stood back by my rear window and said, "You need to get out of the car. Step out of the car." And I'm looking around, there's nobody around, and I look in my rear view, and I see it's the same person that was sitting at that table joking about what they had done, or family members had done. And I said, "I'm sorry, sir, but I don't feel very comfortable getting out of the car right now." And I turned my inside light on, and I had my hair tied back because I was waiting tables. So he didn't know if I was a boy or a girl, right? And he looks in, and he goes, "Oh, I thought you were one of those boys from Chatwood, one of those colored boys from Chatwood." And I'm thinking, it just like chills went through my spine. Of course, he felt he had to ask me for my license and registration. But I'm thinking like that was a beginning of a sense of the terror of not having any kind of way of protecting yourself from someone that has authority and can control the situation or make it really bad for you. So that really sparked my interest in this whole Rosewood thing. And when the movie came out, I never saw it. I probably will never watch it because it's Hollywood.
It is.
And I don't like to watch movies that are supposed to be based on a true story, and because they always have to add something to make it whatever.
Absolutely.
And I was teaching in Costa Rica, so I didn't even know that a movie was made.
Right.
Right, until I got back. So I started doing a little bit of research, and a little bit here and there. And then I went up to Cedar Key to visit a friend just recently.
Okay.
And I was getting ready, I had my sneakers on, I was ready to go for a walk, and I had the TV on, bang, you were on the TV doing an interview. And I go, "Hold on!" And I sat down, and I listened to you talk about your book and the foundation and all the things that you were doing, all the things that you had done, and the new sign that had been put up.
Yes.
And Lawton Childs,
Yes.
met him in Inverness, wonderful gentleman, great gentleman who has since passed. But I was just so intrigued. So I go, "Well, I'm going to call the foundation." So I called the foundation number, and who answers the phone?
Who?
You. I'm like, "Oh, Lordy, okay." Okay. And I don't think I shut up for 20 minutes.
You didn't. But I listened.
So I just really, was so excited that you answered the phone, and you were talking to me about, the book, and, and I said, "Well, I got a book club," and I said, "This is perfect for our book club," and I said, I want to know more. And so anyway, I'm getting several books from you for my book club.
Yes.
And I'm going to put together like a little kind of PowerPoint thing with the maps and things like that, just to kind of give them some background and kind of let them know about the foundation.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and do that.
Perfect.
But, so that's kind of, and this is the book. I don't know if you can see it, but it's listed as a juvenile category, and I thought, and I'm saying, this is one of those juvenile books that is good for any age.
It is.
It's good for any age, and that's what I like about it. And it tells the facts, it gives the information, it's done in a loving way.
Yes.
And it's very hopeful.
Yes, it is.
And that's what I like about it. And that's why I want to share it with my group, because I don't want to I don't want to scare them to death. Exactly. But at the same time, they need to know everything that happened.
They need to know everything that happened.
Yeah.
And they need to know, this was during my growing up years, some of the experiences, which is true, okay? My life was different growing up, okay? I never read a book with a black picture, and all of the pictures were white. Okay, all of the families were white. Okay, and I knew it was time for me to talk about my growing up and black folks
Yeah.
and how we did it. Okay, and as I said, I lived Rosewood through my mother because her sister was the teacher,
Right.
survived the Rosewood massacre, told my mom only her story because her parents were living. She was gang raped during the Rosewood massacre in 1923. She was embarrassed, too embarrassed to
Yeah.
share it with her mother, her parents, because Papa would have gone down. Papa is my grandfather. He would have gone down and had a conversation with them. In fact, he did go down. My papa, her father, passed, invaded the KKK, and went to Rosewood, okay, to investigate because when it happened, he worked on the train as a fireman. So when it happened, he was in Bartow down south. He hitchhiked the train when he heard about Rosewood, okay, and came to Archer, got his horse. He had and his Winchester and his walking cane. I should have brought, but the walking cane was really a weapon with
Yeah.
a sword. And
Yeah.
he went to see those guys, went to Sumner where they, at their little hangout,
Mm.
got off his horse and struck up a conversation. And I use words like struck up because that's what they used back then. I try to keep my conversation when I talk about Rosewood, 1923-ish. Okay,
And,
so
and Sumner's about a mile away from Rosewood. For those that don't know where that is, it's about a mile headed towards Cedar Key, towards the water. So it's not that far from Rosewood.
thank you
Yeah.
for filling in. And he asked questions about here there was a riot here, pretending he didn't know. And I understand there was a school teacher involved without
Yeah.
hopefully them knowing that he had a personal, reason for asking about the school teacher. However, Mom said they discovered, they suspected him of not being who he was.
Yeah.
And he realized this, so he went, Mom said, and I'm going to use this term, he went to a tree to take a leak. And we know what that means. And he knew they had discovered that he was not. He didn't know. He suspected.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah.
they switched the questions, turned the questions around to him. He wore his black hat, and he was acting like a reporter, and his watch, and I still have that watch, and got on his horse and he left town
Yeah.
because they had suspected him, but he was trying to get to the bottom of what happened to his baby. And I was saying that her mom said, keep this history alive. You must, as ugly as it is, keep it
Yeah.
alive. You must research the truth, like you just said about you hear stories, but you like this one because there's some truth somewhere in this book. And not to attack anybody, but tell the story.
Right.
And I have my podcast here at Spurrier Gridiron, and I have people that support me. And I know, and Zach knows, the reason I am being supported is because I tell the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they can feel it.
And a lot of people, like you said, whether it was him or someone else, if they felt probably for a moment that they would have to actually fess up to what happened,
Yes,
that you'd automatically be the enemy.
exactly. Exactly.
So
Yes.
it's like nobody wanted to talk to me about it, and no one has talked to me about it. And
Right.
I do have a friend in Cedar Key that's been there a long time, and apparently his family was from that dirt road that goes way back behind Rosewood.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just hoping and praying that there was no involvement with
His family.
that family. Yeah.
I don't know, but you know what? I heard something on TV last night, which is true, which is what the sheriff, the Bryce brothers from Brightsville that drove the train, the Freedom Train, out of Rosewood and out of Cedar Key and saved the Rosewood people. She told me when I located her, I have done my research. I went to Brightsville looking for family members of the Brights brothers. I stopped at this mom and pop store, and there were two gentlemen in there.
And they know everything, those mom and pop stores.
Tell me about it. And they were very nice, very complimentary. I said to them, look, my name is Lizzie Jenkins, and I'm from Archie, and I'm looking for the Bryce family. Oh, they live right back there. And I went right, go to them, they'll talk to you. And I went right back there, knocked on the door. Was I afraid? Sure.
Oh, yeah.
There were no blacks living there. I was very afraid, but I went. I had to. Yeah. And I, as I started to say earlier, and I'll come back to this, that people that were not KKK members, if they didn't want to be, they didn't have a choice. Yeah. They signed an oath. And I heard that on TV last night. I said, bingo, that's what the girls told me. She said everybody was not a believer in the hate, but they didn't have a choice.
But they were afraid.
They were afraid.
Yeah.
They didn't have a choice.
That's really sad. That's really sad.
And guess what? As a result of that, her grandfather, her great-grandfather, was killed in 1924. This happened in 1923. Right. And he was riding his horse in 1924. They knew he had participated. They spooked his horse and broke his neck. Oh. And she started crying. And the story goes on and on and on. And this is what has inspired me to keep moving. People need to know, so to keep it live and to let people know how people really were back then, are today, some of them.
Yes, ma'am.
But we must not allow them to intimidate us and stop telling the Rosewood story, okay? Okay, it's about time for our first half. We are going to head to a quick break, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
I am Black History.
I am Rosewood Black History. I am Florida and America's Black History, and you are too.
January 1st, 1923, the KKK insurrectionists attacked Rosewood, killing 5, burning it down.
Because a white woman lied and cried, a black man assaulted me. Rosewood redevelopment is on its way.
Want to help? Visit rosewoodflorida.com.
Welcome back to Queen Lizzie Podcast, brought to you weekly from the Steve Spurrier Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We are here with Kristen Stewart. The Queen Lizzie Podcast is brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union, live from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Special thanks to Greg Bradley, Allstate Insurance. Okay, we are back with my conversation piece, P-E-A-C-E, speaking with Miss Kristen Stewart. And before we ended, took a break, we were talking about, I don't know what, I don't remember, but you may pick up from here, and I think you wanted to play the role of a teacher. If you were a teacher.
Yeah, if I were a teacher.
Okay, this is a game you all called If She Was the Teacher.
If I was still a teacher.
If she was still a teacher.
I'm still a teacher, but not in a traditional classroom. But because I did go to UF and I got my master's for teaching. And I started in '93, and I did my one of my internships in Archer.
Okay.
Yes.
Go Archer.
Yeah, with fifth graders. Who had a great time. And then I did another one in Williston.
Okay.
In Williston Primary School with Principal Reggie Williams.
Yes.
I don't know if
And
I want to call him
Reggie-
Pastor Williams.
Pastor Principal Reginald Williams.
Okay, because I know that he was going to go into the ministry.
You know, he was from Archer also.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay, and
Yeah.
his parents and I were in school together. It was very segregated, and by the way, I called him. You know, we called everybody cousin back then. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't intend to interrupt you.
No,
but
you didn't.
Reginald
No.
Williams.
No, he was fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. Always so supportive and just understanding, and just gentle giant. That's the way I look at it. It's a
Yes.
gentle giant, right?
Uh-huh.
But I taught there. I did my internship, and then I was hired there, and so I taught there my first 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there I went on to Costa Rica, and I taught in Costa Rica for 2.5 years. And then I came back, and Reggie goes, well, I held your job for a year, but I couldn't hold it any longer. And I said, I understand. So I ended up teaching in Citrus County.
Okay.
But I taught for almost 20 years before I retired, and went on to a different career. But what I really wanted to say, why I'm giving you all this background, is if I were in this, that's why I'm doing this for the book club. That's why I want to take this to the book club. If I had my own classroom right now, I would have this be required reading, because the last school that I taught was a charter school. It was 9th through 12th grade, and we had some pretty good freedom with our ability to pick and choose what books we wanted to read, even though we were under the umbrella of the Citrus County School Board. And to me, this would be required reading, I said, because I just, how long I had lived here before I knew anything about it. And there's still so many people that would be like, really? Really? I mean, and like Lizzie said, I said, this, she's putting these books together, and she's got this foundation, and they're working on trying to get funding for different things, and move the building of the sheriff from Rosewood, the one standing home, over to Archer and have a museum, and I just I think that's fabulous. I think that's a wonderful thing to do. I'd do a field trip. I wouldn't just read the book. I'd read the book and then do the field trip.
Okay. We are in the process as we speak of building a museum. We may not be able, although it was donated to us. Okay, that was a mark in history. However, it's more than 150 years old.
Yeah.
We see the possibility of it falling apart. If we can't move it, we are going to replicate it.
Yeah.
In Archer, on 29 acres that the school teacher, my aunt, mom, grandparents grew up on, purchased in 1897, and grew up there. We still have that property in our family, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And Dad would tell us, and Grandpa would tell us, don't sell my property. They are not making any more. So we have held on to the property. And we are looking forward to making Rosewood the capital of Archer.
There you
Okay.
go. There you go. Yeah.
Remembering, yes.
And for a lot of people that don't know, Cedar Key used to have like a big pencil factory, and they had a lot of
Yes.
stuff that was going on. So they had a train that went all the way, I know it went through Archer and
Yes.
went all the way down through Rosewood and Sumner, and had little stops along the depots along the way, and
Yes.
would go down to Cedar Key. And so they have a station there in Archer.
Yes, it's still there.
It's still there. I go by, I always look at it. I intentionally drive that way home.
Well, the next time you go by there's a plaque
Yeah.
on the porch. It says Mahalda Gussie Brown Carrier. It was donated to her in 2000 because they gave 2,000 plaques to people that have been contributors to Florida. However, when it was time for me to submit the application for her, I had no evidence. I couldn't prove anything.
Yeah.
I called Tallahassee, and who what was her name? Harris, Catherine Harris, was, don't remember her title right now.
Right. I know who you're talking about. Though.
Yes, but I made sure that information got to them that she was a teacher in Rosewood. And guess what? They donated her a plaque because of my truth. I wrote that letter.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yes, and if you're interested in purchasing this book or another book, or I have some, I'm not going to talk about them right now. But anyway, go to Rosewood, Florida, www.rosewoodflorida.com, Rosewood, FLORIDA.com. Purchase a book, books. Leave a donation. There is a donate button there because we are trying to build this museum. Not trying, we are in the process as we speak of building a Rosewood Museum. The name of it, Maholda Gussie Brown Carrier Culture Museum.
We got to get you on the National Register.
You know what? Yes.
You know, and I'll tell you, I know it's a lot of work
But
because
that's why you're here.
well, the reason I say is because my very best friend,
Yes.
Kathy Turner Thompson, she
Works there?
she and I, we've lived together, we worked together, we went to UF together, everything. She's gone to Costa Rica to see me a couple times. She had been previously, she's retired, she's doing something different now, she's working from home. She had been the director of historical resources for Citrus County. And that old courthouse.
Yes, I know.
She helped to get that on the National Register, and I was on the advisory committee for that. And let me tell you, it's a lot of work.
Yes.
But we got it done.
Yes.
We did get the recognition for it, and we've had people come from all over the world, and people right there in Inverness didn't have you're talking about, didn't have a clue about any of that. People come in thinking
Right.
it's where you go to pay your motor vehicle thing. No, that's over there. This is now a museum. Would you like to walk through the museum? Would you like to see the information?
What about, I spoke in Citrus County, Inverness? Is that
Inverness.
At the Valley Theater?
That's right across the square.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right across the
where I was
square.
headed.
Yeah.
And it's now historic.
Yes.
Historic.
Yes.
They
yes.
promised to bring me back. The reason they did, because of COVID.
Yeah.
When COVID set in, that changed a lot.
You got to
of
get
it.
back in touch with the old courthouse museum again, because that's the one that's it's so unique because it's on a square right in downtown Inverness, but
Yes.
it's not lined up with the square. It's
Yes, it is.
different. And it used to back in the day. I've seen pictures because I'm and all that stuff. Because they have that. All the county's archives are right there in a vault there under climate control and everything. And they used to have like a little tiny fence all the way around it to keep the pigs out.
Okay.
But they got a lot of stories behind it. But I know Kathy did, and the girls that are there now are doing a great job. I'm not trying to take away from them, but Kathy did. She is like the human, and I'm aging myself here, but the human Rolodex of names, dates, and places. She can pull it out of her hat and tell you about, that was so and so. She knows where all the little ghost towns are. She knows where all the little private cemeteries are.
I need to talk to her
Oh, yeah, you
because
do.
I am on as we speak, I'm on the National Juneteenth Committee. And we're trying to locate the old towns or the no towns any longer.
Yeah,
Black,
Yeah.
and we'll take the whites too.
Yeah.
That's my assignment. I don't have not one.
Well, there's a cemetery that's in Hernando, which is in north of Inverness, and it's an all-colored cemetery, and they go in there once a year and do a cleanup.
I better go with them. Speaking of Hernando County,
Not Hernando County, the town of Hernando. Yeah, the town of Hernando.
Chatter. Have you heard of Chatter?
Yeah.
Oh God, my history just so broad. But anyway, I told you my grandfather passed. When he asked for my grandmother Lizzie's name in marriage, her parents, who were both enslaved and walked from Jackson, Mississippi, said to him, "No, you're too white. Guess what? Because he worked on the train, he kidnapped her. Not really kidnapped her.
There's a story there.
He took her to the train station to board the train. They knew him. They said, she can't get on this train because she is the N-word. And he said to them, my grandfather, he said to them, she's my maid. They allowed her on.
Oh, wow.
They went to hit Istachatta, got married, came back home. Her parents were devastated. They didn't know what had happened to her. But they knew he was involved because he was not around also. So they got married, came back to Gainesville, Archer, and lived happily ever after, 10 children later. But yes, I have some stories, and I want you to know the reason I know this. I retraced it.
Yeah.
I went to Istachatta. I got off the train. I walked in the same little block the depot where I assumed they exited to. And the only thing in Istachatta, a post office, because I was trying to find the Justice of Peace to see if I could find some records. That was no longer. The courthouse was there, the post office, and a big store, like a big barn, a commissary. And Lizzie went over there. Me, all white. They were having a ball. Coffee, breakfast. I walked in. I always identify myself. Good morning. I'm Lizzie Robinson Jenkins. Another old white guy. I have had the fun of my life, the experience of my life. They said, come in, would you like a cup of coffee? I said, sure. Breakfast, of course. Oh, it's on me. Everybody wanted to pay for it. Okay. But it has been a lot of work, dangerous work. I've enjoyed it. I feel very, very good. And I'm putting all of this in the book. I feel very, very great about bringing history, making it alive. And speaking of the University of Florida, I have spoken there 29 times. Free. The professors would call me, and I have all of that documented. That's going in my book. They would call and say, Mrs. Jenkins, will you come and speak to my class, NAACP class, the class of law, nursing, history? I have spoken, never said no, never charged them one penny. So I hope the University of Florida hear this, because you all owe me. You need to donate to my foundation, because I have donated to you all.
There you go. There you go. Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of work into looking into your ancestry, and that's one thing Kathy's been working on her whole life.
Okay.
And she and I we've gone to Salt Lake City, we've gone to Pennsylvania, she just got back from Iowa. She's got I think it's 5 times back great-grandfather that she can't pin down, and she's got everything ready to go into a book. And she goes, you are so lucky, because I'm from a very, very small community, the town of Vernon, but my ancestors lived in a hamlet, and there's a cemetery there where both my parents have passed, and they're there. There's 5 or 6 generations in that cemetery alone, and my great grandfather's farm is still there.
Wow.
And it's a circle, and on the trees, he helped plant those trees.
Yes.
And then the church is on the circle, and then the little, like you said, the little market store, and then and then you just go down the way, and that's his farm is right down there. And I've got pictures of them. He's in a hammock, and she's sitting there with a cat in her lap on the front porch.
Really? You need to do a book. You need to write a book.
Well, I know my brother's. He's the one that's the
okay. Yeah. He's the historian.
Yeah, I just gave him a whole bunch of pictures.
Okay.
So, but it's a lot of work, but it's all so worthwhile. Someone
Exactly.
has to do it.
Someone has to do it, and I think I was born to do it.
I do too.
It hasn't been
I
easy.
do too. No,
It hasn't been.
it's a
but I don't
It's a
regret-
blessing, though.
It is a blessing. I don't regret it, but I was angry because I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But now I'm stuck with it, and I got to finish it. I got to finish
Yeah.
telling the story.
You're not a quitter.
I am not a quitter. I'm not a pushover either. You know what I told you about this guy that I confronted?
That's where I'm going.
Okay, is it anything else? Closing remarks?
No, I just want to say that this has been an honor. Thank you so much.
And you are welcome to come back.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. I am continuously humbled, honored, and blessed to meet people daily and invite them to join in peace building, healing, and reconciliation through learning about the history of Rosewood. That will wrap up today's episode. I am Queen Lizzie. Until next time, this is my story, and I'm sticking to it.